everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm the BMD, your host of our Rogers television show, Meet the Band and Catch a Break with me, the BMD. And right over to me here, we have a new guest, Sonny Yu. We're going to ask him where that name came from, a little bit of his background, culture, what he's doing, what does he say, what does he know? But let's start off by saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, sir, somewhere in the world. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you so much for having me here.
So your background, your culture, your heritage, we break things down here on Meet the Band, and we try and let the listeners and the viewers know everything about you in a half-hour show. So take your time, tell us who you are and where you've come from.
All right. So like you introduced me, my name is Sonny Yu. That's my artist name. I was born in India, and I grew up there till I was about 6. And then my family moved to the Middle East, and that's where I spent most of my young adolescence, I guess. And I did my schooling over there. After the 10th grade is when I moved back to India for my undergraduation. I did an undergraduation in marketing and writing. And that was actually my first real experience of India after developing a sense of like myself and like, being able to understand my environment and really being able to relate to India as my home country, not have even despite the fact that I was born there, not having grown up there. So it was still foreign to me. I finished my undergraduate in India in about 2015, and mid 2016 is when I moved to Canada. I did. Apologies for that.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I did a writing program at Humber right when I moved here, and like I said, I've been here since 2016.
So, Sonny Yu, you mentioned as your artistic name, stage name, if you want, entertainment name. Where is that rooted from? Can you share? You don't have to give us your real name. We'll live and go by Sonny Yu. But explain to the listeners and the viewers, does that mean something to you?
Sure. I mean, honestly, it's not the not the most complicated or not the most interesting story. When I was looking for an artist's name and to put up my music on Spotify and Apple Music, I've honestly always preferred Sonny just by itself, like not having a last name. My actual real name, I'm okay to share it because it's up everywhere, is Puneet. But the weirdest thing was, I was named Puneet as I was born. There's like an Indian like traditional way. I don't really know how it works on how like a kid is named, but I was named that as I was born. But my mom didn't really like the name, so she named me Sonny at birth. And like I've actually never even heard my mom call me Puneet, so I've always related to Sonny. So that's what I was using for my artist name. But I got feedback from like Spotify and like Apple Music that just Sonny by itself is way too common. So what I did was I took my last name and I just used the first initial of it just to, again, be a bit more relatable. My last name is a bit more Indian sounding, and I was just trying to keep all the like the pronunciation thing out of it. Just to, make it easier for people if there's an MC and trying to announce my name, it's just Sonny Yu just seemed the easiest thing to do. I do.
Gotcha. Now, born overseas, and did you gravitate to the culture of the music there, or were you getting teased by, let's say, the North American vibe, maybe the rock and roll or hip hop, or you know what I'm trying to say? Were you stuck in your culture and then you broke out, or growing up, did you have an ear for the North American music, let's say?
Well, like I kind of mentioned, growing up, I didn't hear a ton of North American music. It was just like mostly Bollywood music, which isn't really about the music. It's more about the spectacle. But when I started really connecting to music was, I remember it was during class, just before class started, my friend was telling me about guitar, and I was about 18, I think, where I heard my first proper rock song, which was pretty late, but he showed me a Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day. And I was like, that, I don't know why, but I get that. So I've never actually connected to the music in my culture as much as I have connected to Western music. Like for me, the blues is home. That is where, like, when I heard the blues, I went like, I want to do that. I really relate to that emotion. And then I started listening to singer-songwriters and folkier artists and whatever. Most of the things that I came across, I was like, I relate to that way more than what I heard when I was growing up.
So what about your culture? Your culture is known as great dancers. Are you a good dancer yourself?
I did take dancing lessons when I was a kid. It was one of my mom's favorite things to do when like guests would come around, and they like, this was when I was like maybe 8 years old or 7 years old. She'd like call us over. It's like, what is that new dance move you learned in your class this weekend? Come on, like you got to show them. So I think I was okay. I'm probably not good anymore. I can't shake a leg though if needed.
So as part of your act, when I watched it, you looked like there was some attempts of making some moves. I don't want to say Elvis Presley, but you weren't just standing there. You were trying to shake it up, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I'm playing music, it is very difficult to just stay rooted on the spot. Just the fact of having like a drummer and another like a bass player or another guitar player next to me, it just energizes me. So maybe my inner dancer just naturally comes out. But yeah, you will see that on stage if you come to see me. I will not be standing still.
Interesting. Well answered. Now, songwriting. I ask all the artists we have from all different music types,
Mm-hmm.
How does songwriting work for you? We've had from, lifestyles to, the blues, the daily blues, to landscapes. What sparks you?
There's before I went to my songwriting program, it seemed really mystical to me, songwriting. Like, how does this happen? I sit down one day and I start strumming a chord, and to me that chord starts defining a sound, and that sound starts defining this emotion that I'm feeling. So it seemed almost indefinable, like what is songwriting? But after going to songwriting school, for me, like, I've tried to make my process, as strange as it may sound, a bit more methodical, because songwriting, like anything, is trying to take inspiration and turn it into something concrete, something relatable. But if you sit around like waiting for inspiration, you will maybe wait 10 years before writing the song you actually want to write. So when I songwrite, I try to take something that has happened to me either recently or maybe something that happened to me a while ago that I've been thinking about, and I try to take the predominant emotion that is behind that feeling, and I just literally sit down with my guitar and I try to channel that feeling into either a guitar chord or a melody. So my goal kind of has been to try to remove the mysticism in my head around songwriting and make it more of a way of what we're doing right now, a conversation. It isn't hard for me to answer your questions when you ask me. I don't need inspiration to come up with the wittiest answers. Like, give me a sec. Like, I'm just going to sit here for a second and let the lights shine from above and give you the perfect answer. That kind of songwriting may work, but I don't think it's sustainable. So yeah, I've been trying to make it more practical. I try to think more practically in terms of songwriting.
Interesting.
Took his chances. If only he would speak, but the words they never came. What would they say? What would they say? On your own in the city of sound, your breath fogs up the glass that won't let you out. Make your way to yourself today in the city, the city, the city of sound. Still he stumbled back to the doubts he dropped like breadcrumbs. But the city called harder and harder. He didn't need to run. So happy he could be if only he would speak. But the words they never came. What would they say? What would they say? On your own in the city of sound, your breath fogs up the glass that won't let you out. Make your way to yourself today in the city, the city, the city of sound. Been alone too long. Days have come and gone, but here the sun still hangs until he says when, and then he says, on your own in the city of sound. On your own in the city. On your own in the city of sound. Your breath fogs up the glass that won't let you out. Make your way to yourself today in the city, the city, the city, in the city, the city, the city, in the city, the city, the city of sound.
Folks, you're listening to Meet the Band. I'm your host, the BMD, and my guest today is Sonny Yu. Sonny, I want to talk about, you mentioned Humberview College in Seneca. What happened there? What you mentioned you learned about how to start songwriting. What else did you learn? Were they an important part of who you are?
I would say the songwriting and production program that I did at Seneca is probably the best 8 months of my life, period. Like the goal for the rest of my life is try to recapture that feeling, mostly because I was surrounded by inspired songwriters, by amazing professors, all of whose goals were just to create a safe environment where you as an artist or as a person can discover yourself and be okay creating. So I'd say, yeah, Seneca was the biggest part of who I am today. Not just taught me, that idea of making songwriting more practical and less mystic, but also taught me everything about my stage presence, performance. We had a whole course on performance. So maybe that's where the dancing is coming from. We definitely did dancing in performance class for sure. We danced, we cried, we did whatever you can think of.
So are you gonna do more dancing in 2022? Is that something we can tease the viewers and listeners? Come on out and see Sunny You, and I'll be dancing my pants off.
What if that's what will get people in? I don't know. I mean, I have fun dancing. So heck, if you want to come down and watch me dance, you won't be disappointed. At least I hope not. Yeah.
Now, what about speaking of songs?
Mhm.
What about your most recent song, Made Up Hearts?
Mhm.
Where was the inspiration? Tell the listeners and the viewers, how that came about to where you said, okay, I'm going to record that.
Mhm. That was again happening like most of my songwriting did during my songwriting program. And I remember I remember very clearly, it was one day getting out of the subway and like walking into York University. And there's always this gigantic wall of posters that you walk past right before you get into the main university building. So I was walking past it, and there was this collage of images and like and caricatures, and it all kind of formed a heart. And I remember thinking in my head, look at that, that's a made up heart right there. And that phrase kind of made me start thinking about the people that I've met in my life who I've tried to connect with, because that's what I do when
so
I
let me ask you this. So you got your name from the poster or the wall of posters.
Yes.
How did it spin into the story?
Yeah.
I know you were about to start, but break it down again. We went from the wall of posters to thinking about the people you've connected with in your life. But then where do the words come from? I'm so intrigued by how the songwriting process works. I can't sing. I've got a great voice. I can broadcast. I'm a good broadcaster, but I couldn't put together a verse if you tried. So I'm amazed at how it goes from the poster wall, we'll call it, to connecting with friends. I know I interrupted. So then now how does it go to the words and the verses and then the music?
For me, the verses of the story just start from the fact that I have this bit of information, this bit of input, right? That's coming in and it's processing in my head, made apart. What could that be? What could that be? And I started thinking about the people I've come across in my life who I've tried connecting with, specifically this happened, like I was thinking about the time I was in boarding school, like I said, when I had to start learning guitar because I couldn't make friends, because it didn't seem people were being real to me. So I started thinking about those people and started thinking about the emotional investment we as human beings put into relationships. And if you really break it down, how scary that can be. If you know the person in front of you can break your heart just with a sentence. In one day, you could go from being best friends to like never talking to each other again. So what kind of person or what kind of people do that? So that's where I thought of the line, how much does it take to hear a made up heartbreak? Like if you're the person
I like it.
If you're the person opposite, that kind of person who's not willing to give themselves, not willing to be a part of that part of emotional relationship, how would you feel? Like if the power lied with you. So that's where that came from.
Made up hearts. How much does it take to hear a made-up heartache? Stand back, give it time. Get through to that made-up mind. For you, it's always a game. Same stories, just changing names. Find it so hard to believe. The pain you spread splinters at your feet. Turn blind once again. You're still where you began. Made of hearts, they can't be lonely. You played your part, everyone begins to fade. Let's hear you made up heartache. Hide all the feelings you have. You can't save them from going bad. And build your paper mache world coming down. What does it take? What does it take? Turn blind once again. You're still where you began. Made up hearts, they can't be lonely. You played your part, everyone begins to fade. Let's hear you made up heartache. Let's hear you made up heartache. I know why you hide. Sometimes it hurts all the time. It's a compromise all the time. Made up hearts, they can't be lonely. You played your part, everyone begin. Made up hearts, they can't be lonely. You played your part, everyone begins to fade. Let's hear you made up heartache. Let's hear you made up heartache. Let's hear you made up heartache. Let's hear you made up heartbreak. Let's hear it break. Let's hear it break. Let's hear it break.
How are you promoting yourself, especially attempting to stay active with the pandemic? I know it's opened up a little bit now, and maybe gigs and events are going to start up for you again. But how did you stay busy during COVID, and how did you keep, and how are you promoting yourself now?
Mhm. Well, during COVID, it was the funniest thing was I was in class in Seneca, March 2020, when they said that, hey guys, I think you all need to go home. I think something is happening. And I still have the image in my head of everyone rushing to the subway and just confused at what was going on. So the first little bit of COVID was actually just finishing the program. We were the first to finish it remotely, which kind of took all the fun out of it. But it kind of gave me enough material to keep songwriting. I was fresh off my course, so I did a ton of songwriting there. And in 2020, I released my first single. And then I released my first Christmas song-ish thing at the end of 2020. And all of last year was kind of just more about understanding who I am as a musician, what I'm going to do, and what my goals really are. And part of it was I want to put out a collection of music this year. That is where my EP that I put out last year, What's to Come, came from. I couldn't go to a drummer. I couldn't go to another bass player saying like, hey guys, I need to make this music. Let's sit in a room. Let's start making music. Let's record. I didn't have the budget at that time. And also we just couldn't do that. So I got some equipment together and recorded all of the guitars, all of the bass, the vocals, everything by myself. My friend from my program mixed it and put some amazing piano and some of her vocals on it, and we put that out. So for me, it was all about releasing some music last year. And this year, after music's come out, it's been two parts. One, I've always been fascinated with the idea of sidemen guitarists, like, and session players, because a lot of my favorite artists, especially Canadian artists, including the person who was my guitar teacher at Seneca, they've all made a really good and enjoyable living being guitar players for hire, whether that's on records or for other touring acts. And because I've always been so focused on honing my craft on guitar, it kind of invariably and unbeknownst to myself made me ready for such a job. So my
you're
goal
gonna break out and expand. So the young Sunny U's that are coming up, the young ones, what is your tip of the day for those? We call them young bloods. What is your tip of the day?
I'd say try to understand and like really pay attention to what you love about music. Like, what is it that moves you? Is it the fact that there is a cool guitar lick in there and you really connect with that sound, or the fact that there's this one line in the verse that just absolutely kills you? And whatever you think is valid. There's no right way of doing this. Find out what you connect with. And if you want it, just go that way. Don't think about the fact that I love the blues and it's an extinct form of music. Who the heck is playing blues now? You don't hear blues in the top 40. It doesn't matter. If you connect with it, then it's right for you.
Excellent answer. Listen, how can people connect with you? Give us your social media ID. So maybe some people want to continue the conversation with you directly. Go ahead and tell us.
All right. The best way to get in touch with me would be through Instagram. That's where I am the most active, and it's easy enough to find me. My Instagram handle is @SunnyPlaysGuitar. So easy enough to remember. If you want to check out some of my music, you can go to my website. That's sunnysmusic.com. Like I said, I've released an EP, so you can take a look at that and then hit me up on Instagram and we'll chat. Always happy to talk.
Interesting. Well, folks, another episode is done and getting ready to be polished up. So the viewers on Rogers Television get to take another look at us on our new show, Meet the Band. I'm the BMD, and so fascinating to have our young guest today, Sunny U. And you know what we say here on Meet the Band? If you're happy, tell a friend. See you then.